Okay, so welcome back to Talking Green America. Today we're going to talk about the world's longest extension cord, really talking about the national power grid, how our country gets power from point A to point B. And, well, from side to side on our country would be a pretty long extension cord, right? So let's chat about this a little bit because it is kind of important in the grand plan, the grand scheme of things. And it's certainly going to be an issue because we're talking about generating and using a lot more electricity, loads more, okay? Well, if we really do that, by the way, the good news should be volume discount. Okay, so let's get to it. We need megapiles of reliable power, but our system currently is just not set up to handle that kind of growth. We're just not really ready. But I just bet you electric companies will be happy as can be to jump to the profit wagon here, okay? They'll come to our rescue because it's in their interest. Mega electrical power equals mega growth equals mega profits for them. But our power grid is this jumble of supply lines set up over the years on an as-needed basis. It wasn't really planned out. And a lot of it is frankly getting pretty old and causing some problems like out in California. Today we have three electrical grids in America. The East is one segmented off thing. The West is another. And there's one based around Texas. And actually, they don't really talk to each other at all. We're going to quickly ramp up electrical power production in order to get off fossil fuels. And we're going to have power sources all over the country in different places. Where we have power production is not necessarily going to be where we need the power. Right? We're no longer going to rely solely on power right outside your community. A lot of times it'll be on the top of your house, but when it's not, it could be someplace across the country where the sun shines better. So let's take a look at that. I mean, anybody else see the problem there? Our system is not strong enough to handle the power that we have now in some areas. It needs to be set up better. We have no mechanism for sharing power all over the country. So we have a few problems. And once again, we'll admit up front that building up national infrastructure is not cheap, okay? And this has been left to private companies up till today. Well, yeah, that hasn't really worked out 100%. We are short of where we need to be today, much less for tomorrow. So we are talking big bucks for a very necessary infrastructure overhaul. So that's why we have to include this in the national agenda. It's a big deal, and we're seeing real problems. It's not just, oh, this is a little bit out of date. Power companies are so far behind that, I mean, in California, we've had wildfires started because the failing electrical supply lines have got, the lines get hot, they spark off, and they've actually started fires. Well, California has rolling blackouts on purpose to try to keep those lines cooled off. They don't want to go pay to fix the lines because they're long-distance lines. It'd be very expensive to go do that. Well, so we'll just shut off power to a bunch of people. Wow, great idea. Also true. Folks, upgrading and caring for electric supply lines is just not optional, and the companies on their own are not doing a sufficient job. So what are we going to need that's so special we can't leave it up to private companies? Well, we don't need a big government thing necessarily. We just have to provide the industry the incentives to go where they need to go, where we need them to go. You may or may not know, we already have a national electricity government branch, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. But it really doesn't do all that much. For one thing, it regulates the interstate flow of power because there's money in the power lines. Well, how about if we beef that up? That regulatory commission, so that it can do a better job of managing improvements to long-range electric power lines. We're basically talking about trunk lines, the really big supply lines, and the stations that help power run long distances. That's the supply infrastructure we really need to beef up, like these long-distance lines in California. They've really got to get taken care of. So our classic example is, let's pretend that we pave Arizona with solar panels. We solve all of our problems in one go, and we just pave a whole state where the sun shines really well. But where we need that power isn't in Arizona, because there's not very many people in Arizona. Where we need it is in Los Angeles and New York And I have some news for y'all. Those places aren't around the corner. It's not down the street. We don't have the magic power zap machine, which, by the way, Tesla tried to invent a way to beam power from point A to point B. We certainly haven't figured that out yet, where we can beam power up into space and the satellite reflects it back down to Earth where we need it. We're still stuck with common, average, ordinary million-volt wires. I mean, so the largest power lines, by the way, are in China. They're national, they're not private, and they carry more than 1 million volts. I'm not kidding. They're a little bit bigger than what we have here. Yes, China's power lines are bigger than ours, and size matters. One more time, America seems to be number 2 in the size department. Oh, come on, we can do better. Let's enlarge our major national power supply lines to carry the whopper big loads we're going to put on them, okay? Imagine 9 gazillion solar panels, and we got to send it someplace else. We can't handle all that today. And somebody's going to have to pay for that. Well, if having power where we want to sell it is profitable, how about if we have the power companies pay for those lines? Over the course of time, by the way, as big and expensive as that might be, it's tiny. If you look at, your cable bill, you probably see a very small charge on there for some interstate something or other, or some sports thing or other, whatever. It's tiny. Those charges don't really mean very much to your bill, but they enable the system to work. So that's what we're talking about. And by the way, this isn't anything like having Mexico pay for the southern border wall. It's the people who are profiting from it paying something for it. We're simply talking about what is the possibility of mandating national improvements on a national program that utility profits cover. And that's going to trickle down to people, but it's going to be so small we're not even going to really notice. What the country would be doing is just mandating that long-distance power lines are kept in proper condition and upgraded. Not a bad plan, right? Let's not have forest fires jump out of our power lines. Let's have the ability to get power where we need it. And another thing that we're going to have to take into account is when we have national power storage to deal with the ups and downs of solar and wind power. Those things are intermittent. We've got to have power ready when we need it. Okay, we kick on some battery someplace. We've got to get the power from the batteries to where it has to go. Nothing more complicated than that. If we start doing things like tidal power or any new nuclear plants that are located underground in the middle of no place, okay, well, the power has to get from wherever we make the power to wherever we need it. Long-distance power lines are not lossless, by the way. We do lose some efficiency, but we're going to have to get it from point A to point B. So some of those ideas might be fairly easy to start up, while others will require research and development. There's even an idea, for instance, to make dams more profitable and make them giant storage batteries. Not more profitable, but to make them giant storage batteries by pumping water back into the reservoirs after it's been used to produce power. Because apparently you can do that at a gain. And in addition, when you put the water back in the reservoir, it's there whenever you need to turn it on. It takes almost no time at all. You flip the switch, the gates open, the turbines come on, you have more power. So that's like a battery. Oddly, that is profitable, but it would enable us to have power when we need it. Well, maybe that's the solution, maybe it's not. The big storage thing, the trillion-volt battery article we're going to talk about power storage. Meantime, on this episode is about the grid. And the better we do with fixing up the grid, the more we will be able to do other power projects. We'll simply be laying the groundwork. If it makes sense to think of this as a national network like we have national roads. Okay, well, we have federal roads, we have federal highways, we take care of getting people from point A to point B. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's expensive to do, by the way, but it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's a gas tax kind of thing. It's tiny in most states. There's a gas tax that pays for all the road work. So A lot of the road work. The federal budget is different, but you follow what I'm saying. Lots of road work happens on a big network, and you don't really even notice it. It's a big cost, it's a big expense, but it's so small on a per person, per mile basis that it's, it's not really, it's no barrier to doing what we have to do. All right? And we can finance the same. This model financially is very like the Hoover Dam, except that we would pass the bill on to private companies. Those private companies are absolutely going to pass the bill on to us, but once again, it's like tiny. So the United States government can say, hey, look, we're going to nationally decide that we're going to go build out this network, and we will front all the money necessary to go build out that network because it's a national priority. Once again, like Hoover Dam, it won't cost us a dime. It's just important that we do it. So when we do something on that scale, we're talking about just a giant business loan to industry, basically, and we know it's going to get paid back. It's power companies. There's not going to be a shortage of people buying power to get that taken care of. So when we do something on that scale, we're talking about putting the power plants where we need them. That's a big benefit. We really don't think about that too much. Right now, the local power plant to you is located in your county. It's located not far away. Well, that also means things like having, in the Savannah River area, that means having a nuclear power plant right over there. And that has been problematic. There is nuclear leakage in the groundwater around Savannah, which is not a good idea. So perhaps we ought to get away from doing things like that. And we need to put those power plants, whatever we do, whatever power sources we have, like these power farms that are being built, they're out in the middle of no place. We have to get the power from there to where we need it. Same thing with anything we decide to do. Let's put it where it ought to be. Like if we put a solar farm, let's put it out where the sun shines the best. If we're going to have a wind farm, let's put it where the wind blows the best. And nobody cares that there's big wind power things out there. Tidal power is going to be off the coast. It's not going to be next to your city. If you're landlocked, we can't do tidal power there. Geothermal power is all going to be way out in the west of the United States. It's not going to be around the corner from you in all likelihood. So how about if we actually built some safe nukes? Is there such a thing as safe nukes? Okay, we're going to have a program about that. But if we build any nuclear anything, even the safest, newest design, what if we build it out in the middle of no place in a salt mine? So it's like super, super, super safe. Well, we're already kind of doing that, which I bet you didn't know. We're burying our nuclear waste underground in isolated salt mines. It's called the WIPP, and it's way out in the middle of no place. It's not for nuclear waste from power plants. It's for taking care of the nuclear waste from nuclear weapons production, which is really dangerous stuff. So we have a national place to put it, and it's buried like 2,000 feet underground. Okay. So we're going to need to chat about nukes. It's pretty good. We have a lot of our power currently coming from nuclear power plants. France has almost no pollution going on from their national power because it's all nuclear. So, we're going to have a discussion about that. We're not going to get fusion fast enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line, we're going to need to have a power grid that can handle anything that we do, and do it the best we can, putting things where they need to go. The way to really pay for this is we should look at all of this stuff as increasing power production a lot so that the price of power goes down and we can use it more. Let's do this like we can search for a super discount coupon for America. How's that? If we make a good power grid and we ramp up power production, the bottom line is hopefully we can make electric power not only much more plentiful, but less expensive. And that would drive your bill down, and maybe you could have dinner out once a month more, or twice, I don't know. Let's take a look at that in particular ways in the next episode. I hope this little video gets you thinking. Send us your questions down below at the link. We're definitely going to answer things and talk it through. I'm going to do a lot of podcasting. Mash that subscribe button for me, people, and hit the alert button so you know when to come back. Share the word big time. Okay, so we're going to see you next time, right? Everyone, come back and bring your friends. And thanks again for watching.